my like local languages that we speak here.
Mm-hmm.
Those aren't that colloquial as it should be. Like I'm
Okay.
not at that high level of grammar in them.
Okay. So it's like you're kind of familiar. Like when you hear it, you know what it is.
Yeah,
But when you're speaking it, you're like reading from a book.
yeah, yeah,
Like, mm, sorry, what?
yeah, yeah.
I- yeah, it's
Maths.
it's it's something that it's one of the reasons why Erudita did start the summer school last year, 2022. It's to give access to more information. Although, yeah, we have different subjects. It's like we're trying to give the community a chance to learn, like whatever they want, so to speak. Well,
Hmm.
of course, it would depend on the teacher too, but so let's let's focus on you. My first question would be, um, my first question would be, my brain just went anyway. My first question is, so you are studying math. You're currently teaching math in Erudita. What is your course or program like in
So,
uni? I know you're in uni, or is it college or uni?
so it is basically college.
Mm-hmm.
We call it a college. It's sort of similar to a uni. I don't really know what is the big difference between colleges and unis, but it is like, I'm currently studying electrical engineering at my college is called Indian Institute of Technology. It is based in Jodhpur. Yeah, it is sort of in the top colleges of India. Yeah, and yeah, it's basically what so there was this big entrance exams that is called JEE. It is sort of similar to the SATs in the US region, if you guys
Yeah.
are yeah, so it is sort of similar as in you give that exam to enter the universities, but it
So,
is
mhm.
but it is like the level of questions is very different in that.
So it's like an Ivy League school, but in India.
Yeah, sort of. For
Nice.
technology, it is on that level. Yeah.
All right. So you said electrical engineering. What made you decide that I want to study this? This is the program I want to go into. What what brought you to electrical engineering?
To be honest, it was sort of a trade-off with the level of university that I can enter with and the sort of program that I can get into. So didn't really had that much amount of passion regarding electrical engineering per se. It was more of, it is sort of a good enough branch and it is connected to computer science and computers. So wanted to like know more about technology in general, moving forwards towards AI and that sort of stuff. So
I
that's
see.
why I took a course that, had more towards computer science.
Yes, because that was interesting to me. Like you are studying electrical engineering, and then you're teaching math, and then your interest is also like computer studies or computer sciences. Like okay, how did you decide to, or what made you decide to teach math, specifically math, as specifically for now complex numbers to Erudita? Like what was your line of thought?
So math, to be
Hmm.
honest, is one of the subjects that I fell in love with from like second grade. It was basically a subject that I loved throughout my schooling, and it was just something that I was very interested in from my end. So it was like, even in the all like throughout the my schooling, I have excelled in maths in that sort in the grading sort of thing. But I also actually love understanding concepts of maths as well. So it's more of, how that random abstract logic of a mathematical problem, how is that connected to something that we actually do in real life? Like what people say is that math is not useful, but it is actually very useful. All the abstract topics, you find it fascinatingly useful in a lot of places where you don't like think that you will find them. That sort of thing. That's what
Okay.
like drove me to give that sort of passion to like, because it is also like I saw my friends hate the subject. So it is, I think
Yeah.
there are only two type of students that exist. It is either you hate maths or either you love the subject. It's not like, you just agree with the subject, that sort of thing.
Sometimes when you get older, I think when you get older, like you're out of university, you kind of just, yeah, it's like it's not a friend, but it's someone you kind of, you can kind of depend on. It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? It's like a customer service in a way. Like you can depend on it. You don't really trust it, but
Yeah,
and all right. It's interesting for me to hear that you've loved math since you were second grade. You said, right?
yeah.
So you were really young. I'm assuming that would be around 7, 8 years old. Like I was 8 years old when I was second grade. Um, why didn't you go study, or why didn't you focus on like a purely math course then? Like you already explained why you went for electrical engineering, but now that you've mentioned you are very interested in math, you love
Yeah.
math since you were tiny, why not math? Why not math for university or college?
Because science went hand in hand with maths. So it was like I love STEM in general. So I love science, maths, technology, and engineering, all of it since I was a child. So it was
Hmm.
more of, I love the few parts of science that I didn't like were biology in particular, that you don't really, yeah.
That was mine.
It was basically
That's
because
mine.
in India, it is a lot of remembering in biology. Like I like the like logic behind the processes and that sort of stuff, but I don't like to remember the name of everything
Fair,
because it's,
fair.
yeah, it's more like,
I,
I like the conceptual things in general. So it's like maths is basically logic and concept. So that's why it is really useful.
that is okay. That is a fair explanation of why. Also, it's interesting. Like you don't like my favorite subject. Like my favorite subject was biology, mostly for questionable reasons. I will not go into that.
Okay, yeah.
We'll go into that maybe some other time. But yeah,
Yeah,
I don't know. Also, yeah, I like how you're bridging like, well, isn't math considered like the mother of all sciences? What's your view on that? Like, it's a very old saying, as far as I know, because I was a child when I first heard that, and I'm not young.
yeah.
But yeah, what's your thought on science? No, math is the mother of all sciences. What do you think?
Part of it is true in the sense that, all the sciences, if we go from like law smallest to like the fundamental to the like complex ones. So it is
Hmm.
basically maths is the purest and most abstract thing. Then we have physics that is sort of like, atoms and subatomic particles and that sort of stuff. Then we
Hmm.
have chemistry that is, if we zoom out a bit, how do the molecules react with each other and how do they combine and that sort of stuff. And if we even zoom out more, it's biology of like how a lot of carbon atoms or how a lot of atoms combine and live as a system. So it's like math is sort of the most fundamental. So it is in a sense the mother of sciences. So it's like maths is the core of every science that is built upon it.
All
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I like I like how you basically connected everything. Like I have only heard that explanation probably once, and I was very young. Not very young. I was a late teenager, almost 20, when somebody actually said it like almost the same way you did. Like, I like how you view like math into science is like expanding. Like you have the
Yeah.
maths. Pardon my neighbor. You have the maths, and then you have physics, and then you zoom out of it, zoom out a bit, and then you have chemistry, which is everything that you know about physics combining and then reacting, and then zoom out a bit more. It's the reactions that now exist as an organism, biology.
Yep.
It's a very interesting take. Like some people are not able to articulate that. Some people are like, oh, it's just because every science is a computation. I'm like, that's simplistic. I get it, but also very simple. I want more. So those kinds of explanations are very interesting, and I like you. Your explanation is very interesting. I don't particularly like the explanation where it's just because everything you can compute. Like, sure, okay. For somebody who hated math at the time, again, I was young.
No, it's fine.
It's when they said like, oh yeah, every science you can compute. I'm like, math? No, thank you. And then
Yeah.
now,
My sister also hates math, so I understand the thing. It is
uh,
more of a choice
mhm,
of how you how you
mhm,
basically, if you can abstract things in your mind or not. A lot of
mhm,
people can't actually do that. So that is why, they take it really hard, like, or they have to sort of memorize the concepts instead of, having that logical sense that, okay, this is the premise, and from the premise they need to memorize the statement instead of, the logic you go from
mhm.
premise to the statement.
You said patterns or like, and it wasn't exactly the word pattern that you said, I think, but my mind just latched onto that. Like, math is finding patterns in chaos.
No,
Do
it
you
was
do you
sort of what I. It is sort of true that math is a lot of order in chaos. So, like, a lot of the maths, the beauty or like things that happen, like the golden spiral or the
Oh, I love that one.
Fibonacci spiral or
Yes.
the, yeah, a lot of them are in random chaos. So
Mhm,
the there is a ratio as well, the golden ratio or something. It is sort of, everywhere you find that. So it's like, there is a sort of universal or cosmic truth to maths.
mhm,
Yes, like there are a lot of constants that you have, right? That are just pure numbers, like e, for example. It has like an exponential. It is sort of a number that is, very fascinating to think about, like a number that is
mhm.
so random, like there is no sort of a topic related to e, but it shows up everywhere in math. Same with pi. Like pi is now sort of related to a circle. Basically, wherever pi shows up, there is some sort of a circle forming. You just need to find it. That sort of thing.
Honestly, when I was studying, I never really understood like that. Other than the way I tried to understand the concept of pie is literally a pie, like
Yeah.
like the food. Like, all right, pie is this amount, and then when you're computing it, it's like you form a circle. I'm like, I don't understand, but I understand food. All right.
Yeah. You
I had a
basically did. Yeah,
mm,
it was same concept basically. Because a pie that you visualize, it is a circle, and you are visualizing taking pieces out of it, like considering arcs and stuff. So it is basically the same concept, different variables.
okay.
That sort
All
of thing.
right. I see.
Yeah.
All right. So, now that we've kind of touched on like why you're in your not why you're in university, no, not that, why you chose the specific
Yeah.
subject program in university, what's your plan like? So you were more interested in computer sciences, um, like what is your maybe short-term plan for now? like after maybe graduating
So
or
for right now,
mm,
my plan is like a little bit branched or fractured and sort of find out as things go. So it is basically going to be either a teaching side of things where I do in India, it is a big thing to prep for this the JEE. So it is like the SAT
mm-mm,
equivalent of India. So it is
yes.
a big thing to prep for that. So that is a really actually a big thing. Instead of schooling, people actually learn more in that. So it is more
Mm-hmm.
in depth and that sort of thing. So and that is where I have grinded everything that I know about maths, like the
Okay.
complex numbers, calculus, everything or every concept that I know. I have grinded for like 2 years into that thing. So that is where, I feel like if I have grinded that much, I can maybe give them a better result so that they don't have to do that same thing.
Hmm. Okay.
Or either it is, in AI, because I'm interested in that domain as well. So it's maybe miss in sort of an AI engineer or a prompt engineer, that sort of thing.
AI engineer. Like
Yep.
that, like AI, the word AI has been honestly has been thrown around since more than 10 years ago, I believe,
Yep.
where people were saying that AI is the future, blah blah. And then we have issues with AI now. Well, some are considering it issues, some are considering it as stepping stones.
Yep.
For like example would be plagiarism from Chat GPT.
GPT,
Yeah, and then we have
AI
the
art thing,
AI
basically.
art.
Yeah.
And honestly, I'm not active at the moment, but I was an artist in my high school days. I would do. I'm part of a like, you know how um, primary and secondary schools have like clubs where you can join, and kids. Uh, but I was part of like we would paint murals in the school, um, and because art is more personal to me, as well as prose. I used to write long time ago. Um, it kind of at first it confused me, and then it became so annoying to me that things like mid I think it's Mid Journey that had the most number of issues, like because it would like not just take elements from different art pieces. Sometimes it would like spew out an exact, almost exact replica of a piece, depending on the prompt that it's given. And it's what because you mentioned like AI. What is your view on that? Like how can we improve on that? Or what is your view? Let's start with that. What's your view on that? On the issues that AI.
Also, my view is it is more of a, they had to take a lot of permissions. Like they should have been like the legal side of things is different. But if you like the thing that people say that it is the exact same art, like I know how the base code of AIs work, like GANs, how basically they work. It is
Mm,
impossible for an AI to recreate the same image. It is
sorry.
mathematically impossible. It is mathematically impossible to for an AI to recreate a actually existing image. So it is going to have some sort of variation or some sort of new thing in it because it is been trained on discriminator and generator. That is
Okay.
like it is like theoretically possible for AI to recreate exact same thing, but
Hmm.
physically we don't have that much computation. So it is basically a cat and mouse chase between the generator and discriminator. That is how it learns the parameter, that sort of thing.
Okay. All right. That's understandable. It's a very, I don't know, because it's a touchy subject because I have a lot of artist
Yeah,
friends that
it is a
have.
lot of touch because I have a lot of friends as well, and they are it's basically building on their job and then making them useless. That
Yeah,
sort of thing.
yeah. But I don't believe that it will we will be replaced fully. Not yet, at least. Not in the next.
I think, people, even if like, AI does take over, that the worst thing that would happen would be hyperinflation will become a thing. But it is like, the T2 side of things will never happen, according to me. Like AI taking over and killing humans will never happen because, it is not possible, that sort of thing. But
I,
what can happen is, well, it becomes so sort of, ingrained into the economy that everything else that a human will be able to do better than the AI will be very, very valuable. So it's like a hyperinflation economy. Yeah.
I see. I see. All right. Interesting. Okay, so you have we started off with math, and then
Yeah.
you have a lot of interests, and I like that. Like you're not a you're not a simple person. You're not a one-sided coin. Like it's
Yeah.
kind of boring, honestly. I've met people that are like, and in the beginning, in the beginning, in the beginning. Sorry, I cannot
That
stop
meme.
myself when I
Yeah.
hear that. That's
Yeah. That meme is gold.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
I need to thank my best friend for that. Like, anyway, the stupid meme erased my brain. I'm kidding, but kind of not kidding. Anyway,
Yeah.
it's kind of sad whenever I meet people that I thought were interesting. Turns out they're just one tiny thing. Like I want them to grow. Like I like seeing growth with people. And it's just when you're just one thing and one thing alone, it's like, um, hi. All right, I'll leave you to it. I hope you grow. But yeah,
Thank you.
like, yes, yes, it is. It is a compliment. Like sometimes I just confuse my words, but anyway, it's a
Yeah.
compliment. Like because it takes it. I believe this because especially because my boss, she hates being called boss, but my boss is a teacher. It takes a special kind of person to actually want to teach whatever subject. It's um it's kind of it's difficult, not just in the you have to retain the interest, not just that. It's difficult in that what are you, how you know the subject, all right, you know it, like you can basically pass every exam. For example, you can pass every exam about that subject, but the question sometimes for me is, are you actually able to teach it? Because it's difficult. So I'm circling back to what we previously talked about, like with teachers. What's your view on teachers that you know is a brilliant uh, is brilliant in their field? Like my example would be one of my math teachers from high school, absolutely brilliant, was always champion in whatever math thing. Even in university they were amazing in math, shit at teaching. What's how do you feel about that?
So, yeah, it is sort of a sad reality that it does exist in, but it is basically, uh, till the like university level, you can have teachers that are, well versed in the subject, but
Mm-hmm.
also really great at teaching. So, teaching is also a science and an art. So, it is like you
Uh-huh.
need to have that sort of a rapport, you need to have that like charm, some might say, to hold the classroom basically.
I agree
And
with the charm.
yeah,
I agree.
because those are the teachers that you do remember after school.
Absolutely. It's either
Yeah,
the best or the
or
worst.
the worst. Yeah,
Yes.
those are
Um,
the teachers that you do remember. So it's like, till university you might find teachers that are like that, but after
Mhm.
that, the expertise that you need, or the technical knowledge or about the subject that you need is holded by so few people
Mhm.
that it is really hard to find people that fit all the parameters of a good teacher and a great knowledge base. So that is
Yeah.
like, the sad reality that we live in. That as higher you go, the bad the teacher gets. Yeah.
That's a hot take. I have not heard that that
No, it is sort of the thing that, after like university, you sort of have to seek more out from the teacher. But
mm,
before that, it is, the teacher gives you more,
okay.
that sort
Oh,
of thing.
okay.
Yeah, of course, like it is what it is, like people are what they are. Like if a teacher has a great technical knowledge, and after a certain point, you also understand that, you have to seek that out from
Mm,
university. You get that, after like you age a bit, you get understanding a bit, like, okay, people are like that. So you might be extroverted or you might be introverted, but you know that both of them exist. So the teacher
mhm.
might be introverted, so you get to know that, okay, yeah, I need to seek that knowledge out of him, or drag that thing out of him instead of him giving it to me.
Okay.
That sort of thing.
Drag that. All
Yeah.
right. Interest. Violence. I love it. All right. So that brings me to like my next question, which is how do you feel as a lecturer, as a teacher in Erudita right now? Like, what do you feel?
I actually like it how much we
Mm,
have like the connection at which we are currently working. So it is more of, people are responding. The first sort of, thought process, what am I good, or is it, the will people feel easy to approach me?
mhm.
is is it something that I'm going like rushing over the topic and that sort of thing? But now it is like, enough people are there who will stop and talk about a particular doubt if they have. So it is, it sort of gives a reassurance that not everything didn't went over the head if
Yeah.
someone asks a doubt. Yeah,
So you agree that it would be better if a student asks.
of course.
Like,
It is really important for the teacher as well
yeah,
to,
like I know that. Mhm,
have that for a second, have that interaction in
mhm,
that sense. Okay, yeah, people are trying to understand and not getting it. It is really important to
mhm.
have a interaction with the student, even if they just ask you to say that thing verbatim again, because
Yeah, yeah.
you won't be adding any new information in
Mhm.
a doubt. It would be basically re-explaining or retelling the same story with
Yeah,
different points of emphasis, so that people can actually understand it or pick it up.
I
But
see.
like in general, it is really hard to repeat again without anyone
Mm-mm.
asking for a teacher. But if you think from their perspective, they know that, as to general average, it takes like 2 or 3 times repeating for the student to understand this particular concept.
Mhm.
So it is like, if people talk about it or speak, it is really easy for the teacher to re-explain. And
Yeah.
it also gives an assurance that, in online teaching specifically, that they are
Mhm.
there in front of their screen. Because it is
That's
really,
true.
it is really easy for students to, basically cheat out of the lecture.
Yeah, log in. That's it. Bye bye.
Yep. So
Oh.
that is sort of what, I feel.
Mm.
The Sand Grant Anderson also said, like, the person behind 3B1 3 Blue One
Mhm.
Brown. He's like one of the biggest YouTube channel on that exists. He also said this, like, after COVID, the teacher has to make maths interesting, or else people will just leave the lecture. Or like his thought process was, I am on YouTube. So people have a lot of already interesting content for them. So I need to
Mhm.
find a way to make a really like algorithmic or really rigid topic into into something that people will enjoy watching for 10-20 minutes talking me about
Mhm.
it. That sort of thing.
Oh, I see. All right. Ah. So what I'm getting is you are enjoying actually teaching.
Yep.
That's good. All right.
100%.
All right. So it has been a good 30 minutes since we started. So let me open the floor. Let's have chat ask you a few questions. Like do all right, chat, give us
Juiciest questions.
sensible questions, please.
Yep.
Like I am a fan of the ask a stupid question, you will get a stupid answer. So you should not feel the fear. All right, chat. Like questions for Shahid. Come on, shoot us a few questions. It's like what Shahid said. Like if the student does not ask, it kind of feels like it's just this nothing, basically nothing. I went to fear of failure training and kind of work. What is fear of failure training, Willow? What is that? Because that is oh, I kind of wish we have a psychology. Okay, your view, Shahid. What is your view on psychology? Just a side note. I
What sense?
like your
Like,
hand.
yeah, in what sense? Was
I don't
like,
know. Like, what's your what's your view on psychology?
it was a really interesting topic, or like, it is like a Pandora's box, basically. It is really
Oh,
interesting, but really scary as well. And also, really, really broad in the sense that, okay, what are, in specifically, what kind of psychology? Like, are we talking about, like, specific case studies of serial killers or something like that? Okay, how are their thinking working? Like,
all right.
how are people thinking different? Because whatever they did was good or bad, that is a moral thing. But from a scientific perspective or an objective perspective, they were very different in their emotion response
Mm-hmm.
than normal or an average human being. So it is a case study as to how what changed in their life, or what path did they take to lead them to that point in their life, that
All
sort of thing.
right. Okay.
And as to what PT asked, I am actually not sure. I would probably say calculus or probability as my favorite interest in mathematics. But it is, arithmetic. So if we divide, it would be arithmetic, then it would be what? Algebra,
Mm-hmm.
geometry, calculus, then probability and statistics. Statistics is the least favorite in that by far.
I hate
Yeah.
statistics.
And the further would be basically calculus and probability are at sort of at the top, basically, because probability is actually very interesting as to
Mhm.
how events change happening, that sort of thing. It's really like, it sounds really vague, but it's like, how a particular event can change something else happening in the world, that sort of thing.
Nice. Okay. So, question:
Mm.
why didn't you teach probability?
The topics that I choose or chose for teaching are
Mm.
basically, hated topics or unique topics. Basically,
Ah.
complex numbers is something that a lot of people don't really get to know about, because most of
Mhm.
them don't get that class in university unless they are, doing a proper. technology or engineering or maths major. Like even in
Okay.
bio major, you don't really need complex numbers. It is
Yeah, you
basically, yeah, it is basically in physics that you need and math. Those are the two lines that you need complex numbers in. So it is something that, it is an interesting topic overall.
mm,
Like
it is.
square root of negative numbers, it is something, if you have not heard about it, it is something that, is sort of like, how can you do that sort of thing?
Yeah, that yeah, to me that's exactly it. Like when I was listening to your lecture, I was reading the notes, the slides. I'm like, I feel like I went through this, but I remember nothing. But it looks useful. It's kind of it was
Yeah.
more of a disappointment in myself. I'm like,
So it is
yeah.
useful in Fourier transforms, basically. So like that is the best use case that exists. In Fourier transform, in like in non-mathematical sense, it is basically changing a particular wave from
Hmm.
like mapping it against frequency to mapping it against time, that sort of thing. So it is, changing the parameters of a wave as to what you feel more useful in that scenario. So it is highly useful in audio processing, audio engineering, video
Hmm.
processing, that sort of thing. So, for example, your microphone is a analog signal, but your computer understands the digital signal. So it sort of converts this analog signal into a digital one. Then
Hmm.
it again converts it into an analog signal and then sends it over to the router. Then the router sends it to another like repeaters and stuff in between. So it's like a whole huge process that the communication devices do, that is based on the math from complex numbers.
That is complicated.
Yeah,
That
it is.
it feels like a pun because it is complex numbers, and that is complicated. Well, duh, it's complex. Of course, it's complicated.
Overall, it is more of, a phase sort of thing. So the 90-degree thing that I mentioned in the class as well, it is basically taking a vector and multiply rotating it 90 degrees. That is all the complex numbers are.
Oh
Doing it
yeah.
at different free times and different
Mhm.
ways provides all the different things that we do with them.
Nice. Okay, wait 1 second. I am so sorry, Kitty. Can you please give us that question because for some reason Twitch is not letting me see the whole question.
Yeah, it is like cut off at half.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it's from Rioni. Okay, so Rioni has a question, and it is: I really love how we have a lineup of wonderful teachers. I forgot to ask. Okay, okay, this is good. So Shahid,
Yeah.
what inspired you to actually apply for Erudita Summer School? Like you could have just ignored it. So why? Why did you apply?
So it would go back to the around the time that I joined.
Mm.
It was, I joined around September last year, I believe. Yeah, and
Mm-mm-mm.
it was the first thing that I saw that pop up. That was like the summer school had ended at that time, and I was like,
Oh.
I want to apply. So like I at that time I didn't know if it was still going on or not.
Mm-mm.
So from that time I was, interested in teaching. It is basically, I want to explore how teaching works. It was that the curiosity as to, teaching. And I do felt like, I particularly applied and at that time I didn't knew, yeah, I remember. It was basically, it is I like to I feel that I can sort of give something meaningful in that. So it is basically if I can give it, then a platform is basically what I needed. It's maths and science are the topics that I, love. And even when I
Mm-hmm.
applied, I believe I told like it was not maths in particular. It was
Mhm.
a more of physics, chemistry, and mathematics.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Um, I remember when we were reviewing your application, they were like, "What exactly do you want to teach?" Like physics itself has so many. It's to me, physics is already an umbrella, and then you add chemistry. Like, sir, what? Pick one.
Yeah, but it
But
is like that.
mm, right. Like, and I like how you explain why you chose to teach. There's an ant on my keyboard. Excuse me. Give me a sec. There you go. How you chose complex numbers. It's unique, and honestly, yes, because I did get probability together with my statistics in high school, which is why I hated statistics. Like, why would you combine probability with
Like
and
without
like
probability, statistics is useless. So
true,
yeah,
true, but they didn't explain it like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
it's
It is.
like okay, we're doing this, and then what's the probability of that? I'm like, ma'am, you haven't even taught us the proper thing yet. Why are you asking for the probability already?
It
Teach us
is.
first.
It is a
It's
bit out of convention.
yeah. And then I've never had calculus. One of our actual like good teachers who was great. She was really good at teaching math. It was and she was a second year teacher. So basically she just graduated like 2 years ago when she became my I forgot what math it was. Trigonometry, I think. Yeah, it was
Hmm.
my last math. So trig, she was amazing, and she wanted us to have a taste of calculus.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, she gave us, she gave us a handout, just a sample of the most basic. I do not remember any of it at all now, but basically, I what I remember is not the actual lesson. I remember how I was able. I felt like I understood the lesson, and it's like, cool. I'm not dumb. That's when I realized it's not the subject. It's
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 the
the
teacher.
teacher.
Yep.
And I will go back. I am very proud of Erudita for doing this, like Kitty, Roman, and everyone in the staff. Because last year's, I wasn't part of the staff yet when last year's summer school happened. I was just a pleb. A pleb. I love that word for some reason. I was a pleb who attended, and I was like, I'm kind of excited, but also kind of disappointed because we experienced like, of course, life happens. We can't force the teacher who has personal issues to come in. Like that's also why you have teaching assistants. Sorry, I've been a bit
No issue.
absent, but but so far I've seen like you are there for the lesson. You are absolutely there. Sometimes just handouts need a little tweaking, but other than that, you're wonderful. You're great. Um, it's kind of why when I finally was able to join the staff, like we aimed to make sure that the teachers would have as much of the resources as they would need from us. Like, sure, pick a subject that you're good at. Okay, teach that. Maybe not every one of us would know the subject probably. Like me, I don't know. I'm not really good at math, but we will try to provide you with what you would need to teach at the very least. Right?
It
Like,
is
hey, we
sort
have
of,
prizes.
I sort
Mm,
of like that, you said that, or you don't know the subject that well.
mhm,
Because what sort of happens many times with a teacher or in general is teacher sort
mhm.
of flows away towards the depth. So having a
Agree.
person, so in that sense, having a person who can, sort of help you keep in a balance of, it is not too hard or too in depth for a person who is just wanting an overview for the entire subject
Hmm.
is also sort of important. So sort of like, you can help me if I'm like, going too deep towards a particular topic. So it can be, if it is, you are completely not getting it, then I can sort of, evaluate that, okay, is this really necessary for the topic? And if it is, how can I better approach it in teaching
I,
anyone?
I remember when you and I were talking about the like, all right, slide 3. What's this for?
Yeah, yeah,
I saw this. So is this it? Like, no, 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 that's not it. I'm like, all right, then maybe we can
mm,
add some. Maybe
yeah,
we can add the explanation. So yeah,
yeah,
that's
that sort of thing.
like okay. So so far with you being able to teach already teaching, like how many lessons have we had? Like two,
No,
right?
it's probably
Three.
three or
Yeah.
four. Yeah,
So
three
we've
lessons.
already had a few lessons.
Four, believe, yeah, four.
Yeah, we've already had a few lessons, and so far, not the teaching part. How do you feel with how you get support? Not just from you being not just the interactions from your students.
Oh, the
How do you
back
feel
end
about
support is really, really
yeah?
helpful. So you guys are always there. You guys also help me fix my setup a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So it is, more helpful or more productive towards classes. It is really, really helpful. I was sort of, ghost towards the start beginning of things. You guys still sort of managed it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is. You guys are really awesome in the back end, all of you.
Yeah. Kitty, especially.
Yeah.
All right. Well, yeah. And then so I'm glad that you are excited for the fact that you have been asking about educational program since last year when the first summer school ended. It's it's heartwarming. Yeah, let's use heartwarming. I can't think of a better word. It's very heartwarming because when again I was a pleb at the time. I was hoping for more, but I wasn't really expecting it. And then this year was like, yes, we're doing this. This is gonna be better. This is gonna be a bigger thing. The summer school, we will open applications. We will make sure that the teachers will be there, that they will have assistants, blah blah blah, and then we will find sponsors, just like Domestica. Like it was amazing that we were able to get a sponsor like that. I haven't checked Domestica if they have any math specific courses.
So yeah,
Oh, they
that was.
do. They do. Nice. Wait, your account got deactivated? I just found out
Yeah,
about this.
yeah,
What
yeah,
happened?
yeah.
What happened?
It was sort of, my account got hacked, so I had like I left all the servers that I was in. It was like more than 100 servers at the time.
Ouch.
So yeah, it was, around that, like I joined a bit and then it was, I almost didn't find it on time, but
Mm-hmm.
then I found the stream, like it was just like popped up and I used it and it was, the announcement of, summer school is starting again. So I
Nice.
basically applied again. So it was,
Nice.
sort of fate in that sense.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
It is fate. Basically.
Yep.
Like you got lost somewhere because of some that tried
Yeah.
to ruin your account. But
Yep.
you got back just in time for the lessons. That was great.
Yep.
Serendipity. I just love that. And I'm very happy that you were able to come
Yeah.
back because I remember, although I love languages, don't get me wrong, I love languages.
Oh yeah, I am
Last year,
looking forward to attending the language
yes, we have
lessons myself.
language lectures soon. But yeah, last year I think the first three subjects were all languages, but I was also like I don't particularly want it, but for people who do want it, like I would have wanted them to have an option. I was like, maybe we should have something for science, maybe we should have something for math, like that. And I'm considering like coding, like the one Clement Irakis is teaching. Let's consider that science because it is, and then you have math. So I'm like, hell yeah! It's
I
we are
would more
expanding.
consider it to be a skill. sort of thing. So it is more like a language than a science. Coding in
Another
general.
another language. It's
Yeah,
just a computer language.
yeah, it is. So that is why they are called computer languages. So
Fair,
HTML,
fair enough.
Java, CSS, they are all considered computer languages. So because they are more like languages
Okay,
than
now that we're on
science.
computer languages, do you code?
Yes, I code majorly in Python.
I was about to ask that. Like, what language do you
Yeah.
code in? Like, I am learning. I am
Okay.
learning on my
Python.
own mostly. Python, yes. Like
Yeah.
last year I had a friend teach me. I'm sorry, Kitty. Python is easy.
It is way
Honestly, when
easier than other
I
languages.
I remember when I was in high school, and honestly, I'm very thankful that my high school was what's it called? Was they had the funds. They had the funds. They had I went to private high school. Um, so we had science subjects. We had whatever subjects that we wanted, basically. Um, we had coding class for computer. The language that I had to deal with, C plus plus. I'm like,
Oh,
and Java
ouch.
and Java. I'm
Wait,
like,
why both?
they. I don't know. I don't know. It was. I felt like it was both introductory. Okay, like it was so basic.
Yeah.
But we did make a
Java.
calculator for both. Our
Hmm.
outputs were both calculators. Calculators in Java, calculators in C++, which was okay, sure. At least it was usable. According
Hmm.
to my teacher, it was usable. Mine was, it wasn't perfect. Sadly, it wasn't perfect, but I think I got 98% grades.
That
It's
is
great.
usable. That is as usable as you can get.
Actually, Kitty, I think it was Java, not JavaScript.
Oh,
I don't know.
JavaScript is completely a different thing. It is
Yeah, yeah.
used
I
for,
think it was
yeah,
Java. I don't know. Wait, which one is older? I'm not sure. If Java is older,
oldest is C, then
no, no,
C
no, no. Just
in
between
Java.
Java
Java. Java is older.
and Java. It was Java and C++.
Yep.
Basically, in one, it wasn't just was it just one semester? No, it was in the whole school year, 2 semesters basically, 2 semesters, 2 semesters. One semester was we first had C++, and then the second semester it was in the same year. Second semester was Java, and I'm like, I remember nothing, but I made a calculator. I like the a whoops. But yeah, I honestly don't remember anything about C++ or Java anymore. Like,
Yeah.
how old was I? I think I was 15. That
Okay.
was
That, mhm,
more than a
okay.
decade ago. I'm not gonna say how old I am,
Yeah.
but yeah, and now. Or not now. Last year, May. I remember this date because I was so annoyed. May 15, 2022. There's this one person who was willing to teach me Python, at least the basics of it, like the logic, like if, then, those things.
Yeah.
I saw him code. He's amazing. He's amazing at coding. Shit at teaching. We're back at that. We're back at the same topic. Shh.
Yeah.
Right with right with the subject. Shit teacher. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh,
Oh, I'm
oh.
sorry.
Yeah.
Kitty. It's a
Yeah.
PG-13. I'm allowed one. I'm kidding. I'm
Okay.
sorry.
Yeah.
Thank God I was able to control myself and I only released one because I'm a potty mouse. I forgot to warn Kitty that you really want me to interview people? I'm a potty mouse. Well, it
Yeah.
depends. But anyway. Oh, hey, I'm good.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm
Yeah.
safe. All right. Well,
We had the one that is allowed by the censor board. Yeah.
yeah, and it's towards the end anyway. Like,
Yeah.
and can you even wait? I can't even believe it. It's an hour already, bruh.
It has been a long, like it went like this basically.
yeah, like this is what I mean when it's either you like the topic, you're comfortable with people, with the person you're talking to, you're comfortable talking at all. Sometimes you just don't notice that time has basically, whee,
Yeah.
there goes my 6 hours. Where
Yeah.
the hell?
I
Yeah,
have been in Discord calls that last like 10, 12 hours, so I know that feeling.
I
It is
remember my,
basically you woke up, had the call, ate food, went to sleep. That sort
yeah,
of thing. Yeah.
at least you ate food.
Yeah.
It has happened to me. Like my best friend and I were in a call once. Like we didn't even notice it was 9 hours. I just remember him getting saying, I'm just gonna go get some food." I'm like, "All right," and then he would come back. He would eat while in the call. I was like, he basic. We weren't really talking much even in the call. Like for most of it, um, it was just quiet. Like hit, I can hear the spoon hitting the bowl or whatever it was. I can hear the crunch of the sandwich because his microphone would just pick everything up. I'm like, I don't mind food sounds. I hate like the swallowing. I hate the chewing. I'm sorry. For those who are fans of food ASMR or mukbang ASMR, no.
I
Goodbye.
don't get, what is like the likeness behind mukbangs, but it is what it is.
Fun, fun, fun. Oh my god, what was that? One of my keys just jumped. 1 second. One
Wait,
of my
what?
arrow keys just jumped on my
Okay.
keyboard.
Okay. Yeah.
I accidentally hit my keyboard and my
It
oh
got
there it is.
stuck basically.
The down this
Yeah.
one. It's the
Oh,
arrow down.
oh, it just popped out.
It popped out. It,
Yeah.
it, it has a tendency to pop out. That just that one. But anyway, what I was saying. What was I saying? Oh,
Mukbang related
mukbang.
stuff. Yeah.
It used to be. It didn't used to be like that. It didn't used to be like eating like huge amount of food or making people hear you. I'm like, "Ew." But it was basically at the time mukbang meant having company while you eat. Like there are people who were lonely and didn't want to eat alone, so they basically started like small videos that you can watch that, so you don't feel like you're eating alone. You know that sort of thing. That's what started mukbang. But now it's this behemoth of a. My misophonia just goes beep beep beep. My God,
Yeah.
get me away from this. And my cousin loves it. I had one cousin who used to live with us when she was. I had two cousins who studied to be teachers, and I'm so proud of them. They're especially the younger one. She's now teaching international students online.
That is
Yes, it's
different.
a good
Yeah.
job.
It is basically you don't have to make it the focus of the stream or of the content, right? You
Yeah,
can eat your food, it is fine. You can have something else running as well, meanwhile. The
yeah.
problem started to happen when people, just wanted to eat you, like watch you eat food. That is where, it gets a lot weird. Because it is not even like, you went to a fancy restaurant and like there is no context behind it. It is just you eating a food in your room. Like if there is context, like, okay, it is like world class restaurant and, it is going to be really good food. Then also, like,
Hmm.
people might be interested in seeing like what that food is. Where it's like,
Speaking of
yeah,
speaking of food, um, we're going so out of topic now. Like,
yeah.
but hey, it's still fun. Um, what's your favorite dish that came from your city or the specialty from your city?
From my city, it is,
Mm.
you guys
Or
won't
just
know what it is. Like, it is really like localized. So it is basically called khaman. You won't have any idea what it is. It's basically
How's it
one side.
spelled?
Yeah, that's what I was, I'm not sure that as well. Because it is like, it is something that we spell it in like our local language. So the
Oh
script
yeah.
is different. Yeah, that's why.
Ah, wait.
Okay, so it is K, yeah, it is KHAMAN. Come on. It is like KHAMAN. This is the thing. I can sort of link a photo. One sec.
Ooh. Okay. Because I just love recipes, and I had a, oh, I know what this is. Kamandokla.
Yeah, yeah,
Is it?
yeah. Basically, yeah.
Kamandokla. One of the reasons why I know it is there's this YouTuber, I forgot her name. She's Indian, and she says that Indian cuisine is not just curry.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
Curry
love
is
curry.
sort of the last thing in Indian cuisine that
I
we
know,
have.
but it's one of the most famous.
Yeah.
It's like
Wait. Okay.
she likes sharing more obscure recipes or more localized recipes. That's the fun thing. Like, and this is why I like Pottle's little streams sometimes when he would be cooking. It's like, I don't know this recipe. I don't know this specific version of this recipe for this specific dish. This is fun. I like that. I like cooking, and I love the fact that the community has this
Yeah.
little cooking club.
Yeah.
It's
I
so
also
cute.
loved the like I s- I started around the time I joined as well. He sort of did the cooking around the world sort of thing.
Oh yes, yes.
That was
Pottle
really
did do that.
interesting.
Yes.
That was actually really cool to see, preparing a like local dish of different countries. It was,
Mm,
different
proud,
cultures basically.
proud. I got one suggestion in. It was the adobo.
Oh yeah. I also sort of got one suggestion in. Don't know if
Oh,
it like if was made or not on stream,
mm-mm.
but I
Which one?
did give one suggestion. It is called dosa.
I remember that. I
Yeah,
think I went to look for a recipe for dosa.
it
I
is. It is.
Okay. So Shahid,
Yeah.
um, you know that Erudita is like not just one cut. People from there, people in there are not just from one country. So, how did you feel? Like, did you feel like it was hard to teach someone from, or hard to teach a community that's very different, like different people, different.
It is actually more interesting to teach that way
It wasn't
because
difficult for you.
no, it is more opinion. You get different sort of teaching style. How people have been teach. You get to know a lot of things about them. So it is basically how they were taught, like in their sort of to me. Cause like you know,
Mhm.
in India specifically, a lot of subjects that we learn, or like biology, for example, it is really, really competitive to learn biology. So, for in the sense that it is really, really like you need a certain amount of memory to have that patience to remember the whole books of knowledge, or like this thing is called this has this things as a source, like symptoms. And
Scientific names.
yeah, it is you have to remember a lot of stuff in biology.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
if you remove that particular part of it, it is an interesting topic to learn about. It is hard to excel, but it is interesting to learn about. So it is
Mm.
some education systems, they don't have that ingrained from the beginning of things. So it is,
Mm.
if you choose to major in biology or learn in depth about it, you get to the remembering stuff thing. But if it is, you are having a introductory session or introductory course, it is more of, easier to tackle on
Uh-huh.
in that sense. It is
Yes.
also, Languages are a big thing that that is a barrier of sorts for many people.
Hmm.
That uh, okay, this particular thing, I don't know how to say it in English, that sort of thing. So that's sort of what happened with right now with the common thing. It is basically, there are some things that you just don't really think about in other languages, and having
Yeah.
people around you from different cultures, it basically helps you, have that sort of mentality. In that sense, okay, you are, getting to know about more stuff
Yeah. Like
in that sense.
you get to realize, oh, there are other people who are learning this, but they're learning it differently,
Different.
or they have a
And
different
yeah,
word.
if it is something that you actually, feel is better, you can also engrave it in yourself. Sort of like, how languages have words from other languages in them, that sort of thing.
Hmm.
Like English
Right.
has a few French words or words from French origin basically in them, that sort of thing.
The joke is English is a language that steals words from other languages. Like
Oh,
it's like a guy in a
uh,
trench coat who would
not just
just
English language. It is, English people in general actually just stole stuff from there around the world
Mhm.
and basically told it is their own. And that is the sheer, like, they have colonies everywhere, hence every culture is present in English culture,
True.
that sort of thing.
Yeah, true. Like I worked at a call center. So I had call well, my call center is an American company, um, and it's healthcare. We had a lot
Okay.
of callers from, of course, from well, of course, our the main people that call us are of course Americans. And then even in America, you have South Asians, you have Southeast Asians, you have other Asians in there. I remember specifically one coworker of mine, and pardon, I don't know if you would get offended, but a coworker of mine, he's full blooded, same as me. He's not Indian. He makes the most convincing generic Indian accent I have ever heard
Oh,
of a foreigner. Like,
yeah.
and he wasn't doing it to insult his caller. It was so much easier to talk to his caller because he did the accent. Like
Oh, it is,
slight. Hmm.
it is sort of a Western concept to get offended when people are, imitating your culture. Because, you can, in India specifically, you can
Huh.
sort of see the difference when someone is just, imitating and when someone is actually insulting using that. So you can, it is just, like you can see when the person who is doing the like imitation, if it is
Uh-huh.
like, with a insulting tone or it is just, a fun or a joking tone. You can
Oh,
see the difference. So we don't actually get offended with people, trying to do our accent. We actually like when people try to do accents.
really?
Yeah.
Okay, I've never heard of that one. Like I've kind of heard. It depends on who I'm talking to, but I have kind of heard that. Nah, it's not really offensive. Like they're not mocking me. They're just copying to
Yeah.
make it easier. I'm like, okay, great. So, it, and I don't know. It's just I guess it is sort of a very Western thing. Like, and my country is very Westernized for some reason.
No.
Not